I thought about it really carefully and I decided not to start this video with that cliche about what's up, Doc. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to put it in this video anywhere, and I'm not going to do it tomorrow either when we do the Roadrunner versus the Wile E. Coyote as well. I'm going to try and stay away from all of those cliches and just stay straight in with the shoes, because what we're talking about is the upcoming release of two pairs of shoes, one from the Nike Air Force One line and the other one from the LeBron 18 Lows line, and it's to do with the release of Space Jam 2, which is scheduled for mid-July, exactly the same dates that these shoes are going to be dropping, and that's why we're bringing this to you guys right now. And it's a great story. The Space Jam original movie was huge for Michael Jordan back in the day, and I think I'm right in saying it was the Jordan 11s in the Concorde colorway especially that was kind of a big driver from that movie. And then here we are, it must be about 25 years later, and we've got LeBron doing it with the Space Jam 2s, but we've got the whole cast back together again, all the characters that you saw in the original movie, especially in terms of the animation, of course, is what I'm talking about. And with these guys, these shoes, it's to tie up with Bugs and Lola Bunny and the Space Jam movie coming together to give you those Air Force Ones. And like I said, tomorrow it'll all be about those LeBron 18 Lows and the Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote. So we'll leave that and we'll focus in on this shoe today. Funnily enough, though, there are things in this shoe that really brought my attention, like got me hooked in, and it wasn't really about the Space Jam stories and about the characters on there, to be honest. They are very important. There's some really neat little details on there. There's a couple of spaces as well that I think are misses on the shoe too. But actually the first thing that really dragged me in was the materials they used in the swoosh and the heel branding. And I'll find a good picture that we can have a look at that without looking at Lola or Bugs Bunny, and we'll focus in on those materials there, because what I'm seeing is light blue or aqua suede is my call on that, and it's on top of really high quality luxurious leathers, white leathers front and back all the way through the shoe, but it's very discreet. I don't know if it's to do with the color, maybe the aqua color. It just sort of makes it kind of meld in. It's very hard to see the quality of that suede on there, but I'm almost certain that what we're talking about is suede along that swoosh. And I'll use the medial side swooshes because they don't have the characters disrupting them, and that will give you an idea of what's going on there, and you can see the quality of the materials. And then if we return round to the back of the shoe as well, you'll see that the white branding is housed in that same aqua branding panel on the back. And again, zoomed in close on that, you should be able to see that it's that blue suede that's housing the white branding. So beautiful high quality touch there. And since we're on blue and suede and stuff like that, a thing that I always talk about when I do Air Force Ones is what's going on with the midsole branding, because it looks like this on this shoe. You can see it's in that aqua on the white midsole, and often it's kind of like a question at the Air Force One line is whether or not they're going to go with white on white, or whether they're going to go with something to give a bit more definition to that air branding on the side. And as you can see in these guys, they've actually gone with the colorway of the shoe. I actually prefer that. I know white on white is cool and all that and sleek and stuff, but I think, you know, if you've got the brand in there, it's already meant to pop. Putting a bit of color on it to give it a bit of extra definition is a big yes, as far as I'm concerned. And then speaking of branding, we have to go up to the tongues, and finally this is where we get our first view of Bugs and Lola hanging around up there, different tongues for different left side, I think is the left Lola and the right Bugs, but the big thing for me is I always moan when Air Force Ones come out, because they usually have Nike Air branding at the top and then Air Force One down below. But if you read that as a winner, it says Nike Air, Air Force One, and the double Air bugs me. Bugs me? Oh dear. But in the case of these guys, instead of saying the Nike Air up high, they've replaced them with the two animation characters, one on each foot. So then you're just left with the Air Force One down below. And that's just a big plus for me. I'm very, very happy that they would do that. The branding on Air Force Ones is just something that I always kind of like, a little itch that I can't scratch, if you know what I mean. But then back from that, if you go have a look at the insoles, you'll see a very simple insole, which really, really surprised me. I was expecting to see some kind of detailing. And again, talking about tomorrow's LeBron 18 Lows, you'll see a lot of detailing in the insoles there tomorrow with Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote. But nothing on the insoles of these guys, just a very sort of solid aqua blue insole with the white Nike Air branding on the inside of that. So that kind of surprised me. I was looking to see if there's going to be anything special going on in there, and I was also looking to see if there'd be something special going on in the Dubrays. Air Force Ones are very, very famous for Dubrays down below, and sometimes you see them played around with. I remember there was this 1-800. I think Air Force Ones lows and highs, and they had the keys from public phones down at the bottom. Whereas AF1 was what was down at the bottom. In the Dubray, there was a really nice addition to that, and I was expecting to see something like that on these to celebrate the Space Jam 2 movie, but nothing down the bottom. Don't see any Dubrays on these pictures, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's something out there that we haven't seen yet, and you guys can tell us all about that in the comments down below. But the major sort of story of the shoe, going back to those swooshes, is Bugs and Lola Bunny on the side, on the lateral sides. We already looked at the medial side swooshes, so you can see the suede materials on there with the light blue aqua suede on the white leather background. But when you come to the lateral sides on both shoes, you have Lola on one and Bugs on the other. And a couple of things about that are kind of important. One is in both cases, and I don't know which one I'll be showing you here, but in both cases the character is kind of going across the swoosh and covering up the swoosh a bit, kind of round about 3/4 or halfway through the swoosh, so not towards the front of the swoosh. And again, tomorrow's shoes with their swooshes are wild and right out there. These guys, the swooshes themselves, are very simple, but it's the overlay, the stuff that goes on top of it, which is Bugs and Lola Bunny. So whichever one I already showed you going over the top to give you an idea of the position of that piece of branding and the sort of structure of it, I'll show you the other one to make a point about the fact that these are not removable. They're basically stitched right onto that mid sort of foot area going across the swooshes there, and you can't really remove them unless you get into cutting away threads and stuff like that. It reminds me of the Air Max 90 scraps that we did recently. It was a really cool shoe, especially with their heel branding on there. They were Velcro heel branding on the back of those guys, so you can have just the basic heel branding, or over the top of that there were two alternative brandings, so you can have three different heel brandings on those Air Max 90s. And I was looking for something like that with Bugs and Lola Bunny on the side here. I was expecting them to be removable somehow, but they aren't. They're just stitched right in there, and there's nothing you can do about it. You're just having to take them home with you, if you know what I'm saying. But that's okay, because that's kind of the point of the shoe, right? So that kind of makes very, very good sense. And then the final thing to look at when we're looking at these guys, we've gone on about that aqua and what's going on there. We've looked into the insoles and the suede branding hits there in the midsole in that colour as well. And if we look at the outsole, look at the whole thing to back, there's not a single part of this that isn't in that beautiful colorway, and that kind of surprised me as well. I was looking for more details down below, and again, I keep saying that, but it's only now that I'm actually talking about it I realize the contrast between this shoe and tomorrow's shoe, because tomorrow's shoe has a big splat in the middle of it that just is right out there, but then these guys, nothing. It's just a clean front to back aqua outsole unit. So looking back out to the whole shoe, if you take away Bugs and Lola Bunny and you just think about it, the white Air Force One with hits of aqua, and it's actually a really nice colorway, especially with the aqua outsole, because when you do put color on the outsoles of Air Force Ones, it kind of raises it up a little bit. But as far as the details go, basically there's only the left and the right lateral sides on both the left and right shoes with Bugs and Lola Bunny there, and then the tongue branding with Bugs and Lola Bunny there as well, and that's it. Whereas tomorrow's shoe is all over the construction of the shoe, the design of the materials. There's little hits, and there's also hidden little bits in the shoe as well, and then of course the overt stuff that's in your face about the Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote. So there's a lot of contrast between those Air Force Ones today and the LeBron 18 lows that we'll be having a look at tomorrow. But that's okay, because it's I'm sure the movie, which obviously hasn't come out yet, I'm shooting this on, I want to say it's July the 3rd, it might be the 4th today, but somewhere around about there. So we're about 12 days ahead of the drop date, and probably the video will go up onto YouTube 10 days ahead of the drop date. So I don't know much about the movie. I haven't seen the movie yet. It hasn't come out in theaters here in Tokyo, Japan yet, and hasn't released worldwide yet. So I don't know much about the story of the movie. I do know they're saying that it wasn't disrupted too much by COVID and the coronavirus, and I'm sure they were probably trying to line it up in time with the championship in the NBA now that I think about it. But the Lakers, I think they dropped out in the first round of the playoffs this year, which is pretty early for them, especially as the reigning champions and with a pretty nice roster, although they did have some injuries that slowed them down. But it would have made sense to have, the Lakers in the finals and then Space Jam coming round about that time. But it wasn't to be. But the film's coming out mid-July, so wherever you are in the world, go ahead and check it out, and hopefully you'll enjoy looking at that and thinking about shoes like these and thinking about tomorrow's LeBron 18 lows. So with that being said, it's time to get off and finish up this video. But we do have the daily content coming from Tokyo, Japan every single day. And because I do daily content, I get to say the same thing at the end of every single video, which is that you are guaranteed to see me tomorrow.